Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. We know you're busy people, you have other things to do, so we like to move quickly through this call, provide you with the baseline information. We'd also like to welcome those calling in for the first time and those that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours. So let's go ahead and get started here. We have a standard format. We like to spend a few minutes talking about the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies, a few minutes talking about the program we've put in place to assist you, and then we go to a brief Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about what's going on in Iraq. First, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the sale or purchase of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information that we think is relevant. The first relevant piece of information is what we consider to be the window for the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. We continue to believe that the most plausible date for a number of reasons for the reinstitution of the dinar will be January of 2020. Certainly it's possible that the reinstitution could happen before then, but we don't see that as a likelihood for a lot of reasons. There is a lot going on in Iraq right now and in some of the neighboring countries, but I'm not going to try to share all that information with you. I'm just going to bottom line the most important information. Those of you that are calling in for the first time, in order to get a more complete picture, I would strongly suggest that after listening to this call, you go back and listen to the conference call, at least the first 10 minutes of the August 14th conference call, because the information on that call, along with this call, will give you a complete overview and picture of exactly what's going on in Iraq. All of the action right now in Iraq is happening with the parliament. They've made a series of announcements recently which point to the reinstitution of the dinar. First, they said that they are now ready to raise the dinar rate against the U.S. dollar, so they're signaling the CBI that they want to see the completion of the project for the deletion of the zeros. They also want to see the CBI remint the $5, $10, $25, $50, and $100 dinar coinage. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons. If you look at the process for the deletion of the zeros, it's in essence a three-phase process. Phase one would be taking out of circulation the $5, $10, $25, $50, and $100,000 provisional dinar notes. According to the CBI, approximately 85% of those notes are collected. They project that they will have 95% or more collected by the end of the year. And the target for the deletion of the zeros was that 95% number. Phase two would be the circulation of the $50, $100, $250, $500, and $1,000 notes. They're certainly ready to go, and some are in circulation. But the last phase would be the reminting of the coinage. We're talking again about the $5, $10, $25, $50, and $100 dinar coins, and this is what the Parliament has directed the CBI to begin. Now, the CBI is an independent agency, but they've expressed themselves a desire to get this done, and now that they have the support of the Parliament, this is going to proceed. Another issue of importance is that they are not striking a new template. In other words, they're not creating a new coin. They're going to use the 2004 strike template, which means this can be done relatively quickly. It's not going to be held up because of varying designs for a new coin, people complaining about either the image or any of the language on the coinage itself. So everything's pretty much in place. Internationally, something interesting is going on as well. The IMF is not only in favor of Iraq proceeding with the reinstitution of their currency, but they're also signaling their support for the nations of Syria and Iran to issue new coinage as well. Obviously, the reason there would be they want to see a level playing field to some degree, but they would not be making such statements and issuing such support unless they were fully prepared and understood that the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar is imminent. Now, I know for some individuals, January 2020 does not sound imminent. But for those of us that have been involved with the dinar and these other currencies for a substantial amount of time and understand the leverage that's going to be involved when the dinar reinstitutes and then revalues globally, January is a very short period of time. Now, that being the case, this does give individuals that have not as yet gotten their affairs in order or may not understand what that involves time to do so. The reinstitution and revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies is going to be a seminal event. Something of this magnitude has never happened before. I don't think it'll ever happen again for a number of reasons. Those of us that hold these currencies are going to see a dramatic change in our lifestyle, in our net worth, in our finances. But there are things that need to be done to protect that wealth. Individuals, most of the dinarians are individuals that have not been extremely wealthy people. And so they don't understand that wealthy individuals do need to take steps to protect their wealth. And you do have an advantage in that because you are anticipating this wealth, there are things you can do preemptively to protect yourself. Now, to that end, Trusts Unlimited has put a turnkey program in place to assist you. Phase 1 is pre-RV. Phase 2 is post-RV. Pre-RV involves the establishment of a pre-RV package of asset protection trusts with the assignment of your pre-valued currencies on paper to that trust package. Phase 2, post-RV, involves all of the products, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you after the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. So let's start with Phase 1, which is, again, the establishment of your pre-RV package of asset protection trusts with the assignment of your currencies on paper to that trust product. There are a number of entities out there that one can establish to provide asset protection, but most of them are not going to provide the asset protection you are going to need and want. For example, you could establish an LLC or a sub-S corporation. They do provide some asset protection. Primarily, they will separate your business interest from your personal interests. However, courts have ruled that LLCs and sub-S corporations that are owned in the majority by one person or a closely held group, like a family, will be subject to litigation, and those entities can be broken for civil litigation. Some individuals have established something called a revocable trust. Now, a revocable trust will allow you to bypass the cost and delay of probate and reduce the federal estate tax. But revocable trusts can provide no privacy or asset protection, so they're not going to be appropriate. Then there are a number of trusts out there that individuals have established: as constitutional trust, the pure trust, the non-grantor trusts. All of those trusts have been flagged by the IRS, so you certainly don't want to establish one of those trusts only to have it nullified by the IRS and subject yourself to substantial penalties. There are legitimate single irrevocable trusts, and they do provide privacy to some extent and asset protection. But here's the problem. Since all of your assets are housed in that one single trust, if any of those assets gets involved in civil litigation, because that trust also owns your net worth and your other assets, they too will then get dragged into that civil litigation. So an individual irrevocable trust is not going to provide the asset protection you're going to need and want. In order to protect all of your assets, both pre and post RV, along with these currencies, you're going to need to establish a package of irrevocable trusts, and these are basically the reasons why. First, by establishing our asset protection trust package, and again, assigning your currencies on paper to that trust package, you will preserve your privacy and your anonymity. Why? Because assets held within our trust package are sealed, and the general public will have no knowledge of your net worth or your actual holdings. Second, by establishing this trust package, you will be able to successfully avoid personal IRS scrutiny. If you're holding these currencies in direct title when they revalue, the IRS computers will most likely spit out an audit. And with the potential magnitude of this revaluation relative to your prior year's earnings, you're probably looking at a full-blown 6-year audit. Such an audit would be time-consuming, it would be frustrating, and frankly, it would probably cost you more than our asset protection trust package. On the other hand, if your trust package is in force and your currencies have been assigned to that trust package, you will have successfully transferred the taxable event of the revaluation from yourself personally to the trust package. Now, this is important for two reasons. First, there's less than a 10% chance of an IRS audit if this taxable event occurs within this rather sophisticated trust package. Second, and most importantly, even if the IRS determines to audit your trust, they can't do a 6-year audit. Why? Because the only taxable event within the trust will be the revaluation itself. The third reason you'd want to establish this trust package is if you plan on gifting currency to family and friends in certain situations. Philanthropic gifting can always be done on a tax-preferred basis, either pre- or post-RV. But in order to avoid a substantial 40% federal gift tax, you're going to need to gift currencies to family and friends, non-charitable entities, prior to the revaluation. Now, if you're gifting to individuals that you have no problem giving them the currency to exchange for themselves, or giving them the U.S. dollar lump sum after you've negotiated the exchange, that can be accomplished outside of a trust with a standard gift letter. But if you are hesitant for any reason to give these individuals the lump sum post-RV, you can gift to them through a special gift subtrust that we've created as part of our package. By gifting through this subtrust, their U.S. dollars will be protected along with yours. The language of this subtrust allows you to gift up to a certain currency or currencies, meaning that after the revaluation, you can gift them the exact U.S. dollar amount that you had in mind, irrespective of the exchange rate. But because you're gifting through the trust, you will have complete control of the post-RV proceeds, meaning that you can manage that money, invest that money, and distribute it the way you want to these individuals. The fourth reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because it's been structured in such a way as to allow your estate to bypass the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. I'll give you two quick scenarios. Scenario number one, you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs that estate of $25 million. Now that estate must go through probate, a process that ordinarily can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. But probate is a public disclosure process, meaning that the general public will be aware of the size of your estate, who your heirs are, and how much they each stand to inherit. So if anyone feels they have a legitimate claim against you, your estate, or your heirs, they can simply file that claim with a probate court. And that could tie the estate up for years, and in some cases even decades. and your heirs will have either limited access or no access at all to their respective inheritance until the probate process is completed. Then there's something called the federal estate tax. Under current law, approximately $10 million of that $25 million estate would bypass any federal estate tax, but the balance could be taxed as much as 55%. Now, not only is this scenario unacceptable, it's completely avoidable. Scenario number 2, you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, you assign those currencies on paper to our asset protection trust package. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs that same estate of $25 million, but this time protected in our asset protection trust package. As a result, there will be no probate, there will be no public disclosure of your estate, your heirs will have immediate access to their respective inheritance, and the federal estate tax will be zero, saving your heirs as much as 55% of their inheritance. The fifth reason you'd want to establish this pre-RV package of asset protection trusts is for some very specific asset protection benefits, one pre-RV, one post-RV. Pre-RV, this trust package will allow you to circumvent something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. What does that mean? Under our system of civil procedure, you can only be sued for what you own in direct title or the value of property at the time you transfer it out of title to an irrevocable trust such as ours. So let's use the previous example from before. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. You transfer those currencies to our trust. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. Now you begin to live a lifestyle more reflective of your newfound wealth, and a couple of years down the road, someone sees that you're living rather comfortably and decides for whatever reason that they're going to sue you. Well, this prospective plaintiff has a couple of problems. First, he or she better have a very strong case and very deep pockets, because this trust product is structured in such a way as to make it extremely expensive and extremely time-consuming to pursue civil litigation. But second, and most importantly, once the prospective plaintiff learns that pursuant to the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act, the only thing they could ever win by way of a civil award would be $5,000, the value of the property at the time you transferred it to the trust, and none of the post-RV value of $25 million, there will be no lawsuit. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you have acquired this wealth from the revaluation. This protection is accomplished through an asset protection strategy called segregation of assets, and this is how it would work. Again, we'll use the same example. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000, transfer the currencies to the trust. They revalue for $25 million. Now that you have $25 million in trust, you decide to make some purchases. So you purchase a larger primary residence, a vacation home, perhaps a half a dozen rental properties for tax write-off and additional cash flow, a couple of cars, a boat, and let's say an RV. But as you purchase these items, you utilize the package. You place each of them in their own separate subtrust to be managed by the master trust, the initial trust you established pre-RV. Now, why is this important from an asset protection standpoint? Well, let's say one day you're driving one of your new cars, you have an accident, the accident is clearly your fault, and tragically someone is seriously injured or even killed. Well, the family of the victim is going to want to sue you. But remember, civil suits are about monetary awards, and you don't legally own anything. So there'd be no reason to sue you. The plaintiffs would be left to sue the owner of the car that you were driving. Well, who owns that car? one of your subtrusts. And what's in that subtrust? Merely that one car and the car insurance policy. In that scenario, the car insurance carrier will negotiate an out-of-court settlement with the victim's family. You will not be involved in those rather unpleasant negotiations. The car insurance carrier will repair or replace your car, making you whole. And this is the critical point. All of your other assets are safely protected in the other subtrusts. Now, why are they protected? They're protected because under the law, those separate subtrusts are separate legal entities or persons, and the plaintiffs would have no standing to pursue a separate legal entity. So your trust package works very much the way a barge would work, where all of the valuable cargo is stored in a series of small compartments. Why? In the event that any compartment is ever breached, the only potential loss would be the cargo in that one compartment. The cargo in the other compartments is safe and secure due to the firewalls, and the barge will never sink. Now, these benefits are lost to you if you do not establish your package of irrevocable trusts prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. Now, there is one other benefit, and it's this. If you are, in fact, the holder of one of our pre-RV asset protection trust packages, then you will be eligible to participate in Phase 2, post-RV, all of the products, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you after the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies. Now, I'll just make mention of one here today. Trusts Unlimited will be sponsoring a post-RV seminar to be held in Disney World, Florida, approximately 30 days after the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. Present at that seminar will, of course, be the staff of Trusts Unlimited to assist you with the management and funding of your trust packages post-RV. In addition, many of our clients have expressed desires to establish scholarship funds, foundational trusts, special needs trusts, charitable remainder trusts, and even the more complicated 501c3 nonprofit and offshore trusts. And the proper way to fund those entities is through the direct transfer of funds from your asset protection trust to those newly formed entities. We'll have our tax specialists there to assist you. We'll also have our offshore specialists there as well. And they will show you that by establishing offshore title of certain assets, you can substantially reduce and in some cases eliminate future taxes on the reinvestment from the net proceeds of the revaluation. We'll also have our independent fee-based wealth managers there as well. You're going to want to reposition assets after the revaluation for a number of reasons. First, we know statistically that 95% of all windfalls, however large and from whatever source, are lost due to mismanagement, inexperience, and fraud. We also know that under the new G20 bank bail-in provisions, the failure of banks in the future will no longer be made whole through the general taxing authority of the respective governments, but first and foremost by the confiscation of funds at the accounts at those banks. So you're going to want to get a substantial amount of your net worth out of the banks and at work in other markets. We also know that the general global shift from fiat-based to Basel III compliant commodity-backed currencies in and of itself is going to create extremely volatile financial markets, and you're going to want a substantial amount of your money in tangible assets as well. Now, our trust product is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust that will hold your assigned currencies pre-RV and then financial assets like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV, one optional gift subtrust, which at any time can be converted to a standard subtrust, and 8 additional standard subtrusts to hold physical assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. Now, this was the simplification of a rather sophisticated trust package that we've utilized in the past for our more affluent clients, a package that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But when we decided to work with Dinarians a few years back, we knew that that price tag was going to be unaffordable for many. So we restructured and back-end loaded that trust product, and in so doing, we've been able to reduce the cost to $3,000. There are several ways you can pay for that. If you pay us up front, we'll discount the price to $2,500, saving you an additional $500. If that's not possible, we do have a deferred payment arrangement. You'd make an initial payment of $525, which sum would basically offset our out-of-pocket costs just to produce and deliver your trust package to you. The balance of the $3,000 would then be paid in $100 monthly installments. We will charge no interest. The only proviso is once the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar happens, any unpaid balance would need to be paid within 30 days. Now, with this approach, anyone that has currencies and understands the need for getting their affairs in order and their trust in place pre-RV should be in a position to afford to do so. One other suggestion, we do accept credit cards. Pay us up front with a credit card. Not only will you get the $500 discount, but the minimum payment on your credit card would be substantially less than the $100 a month under our deferred payment arrangement. But we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. One other important issue. This is a one-time payment of $3,000, $2,500 if you do the upfront discount arrangement. A one-time payment for the entire trust document package. The only additional cost lifetime for this trust package are the paralegal fees if you make changes to your trust and you want to fund the sub-trusts. So, for example, let's say after the revaluation, you purchased a $3 million home on the beach, and you called us and said, okay, I want to fund one of my sub-trusts. We will create that sub-trust and protect that home for the paralegal fee between $100 and $150. So you would be able to protect a $3 million asset with a paralegal fee of not more than $150. So this is a very cost-effective way to protect assets now and in the future, irrespective of what you are to acquire. Well, that's the information I had to provide for today. We're going to go to a Q&A in just a moment. For those of you that are interested in what you've heard and would like to get our initial package, I suggest you have a pencil and paper handy. But before we go to that Q&A, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about Trusts Unlimited and why you may want to seriously consider allowing us to assist you. Our trust package was authored by our attorney, Robert Bly. He's been a practicing attorney for over 40 years, specializing in the areas of estate planning, offshore planning, and asset protection. I myself hold degrees in political science, macroeconomics, and finance. I've worked in these areas for over 38 years, and I, along with my clients, were personally involved in the reinstatement of the Kuwaiti dinar in the early 90s. So between the two of us, Robert Bly and I have over 78 years' experience working precisely in this area, and I frankly know of no firm that can make that claim. Now, Bob and I have been working together for over a decade in the areas of estate planning, asset protection, and offshore planning, and it has been disheartening from time to time to see people walk away from sound estate planning and trust creation because of the mistaken belief that by doing so, they have somehow lost control of their assets and their affairs. In point of fact, it's just the reverse. Under our system of civil procedure, it's when you hold assets in direct title that you can lose control of them. And invariably, it's at precisely those times in life that you need and want control. If you've lived for any length of time, either you or your family, you've experienced unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death and prolonged and complicated probate processes. Then there are investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. The number 2 loss of wealth now in the aggregate, courtesy of the information age, is identity theft. But the number 1 loss of personal wealth remains confiscation through civil litigation. Anything you own in direct title under our system of civil procedure can be taken from you. So in point of fact, the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the establishment of a package of irrevocable trusts. and particularly if you have an asset like these currencies that you anticipate a substantial increase in value. And we at Trusts Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives both pre- and post-RV as we understand them. So again, we're going to be going to the Q&A, and those of you that are interested in what we've had to say, I hope you have a pen and paper handy. We'll be happy to send you our initial package. You're under absolutely no obligation whatsoever by receiving this package, even though it will contain everything you need if you should decide to proceed. It's got a lot of information about us, about trusts, about the revaluation. You can review the package. Contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you, and there will be no consultation fee. So I'm going to go ahead and open the Q&A. 2 quick rules on the Q&A. We take no service calls on the Q&A. This is for prospects that have general questions about Trusts Unlimited and our services. And for obvious reasons, your name and number must be on the screen in order to participate. So I'm opening the Q&A now. And while I'm waiting for any potential questions, I'd like to give you our contact information. You can go to our website, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc@gmail.com. Our phone service is 307-274-4122. If you'd like to listen to a recent conference call playback, or if you'd be kind enough to refer us to someone that might be interested in our services, you can either go to YouTube and then go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can go to IQD calls and then go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can simply dial the same number that you dialed for this live call this afternoon, with the exception of the last digit. Rather than dialing 4, you'll dial 3 and then use the same access code, which is 739-394-pound. If you'd like to be included on our email list, you go to our website, go to the bottom, enter your name and email address where indicated. You should be on our email list within 24 hours. Bear in mind that we only send emails out very periodically pre-RV, but after the revaluation, emails may go out as often as weekly. So I'm going to go to the Q&A here. Our first caller is area code 312. That's 312. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. It's Les in Chicago.
Yes,
good
sir.
afternoon to you.
Same to you. Same to you.
I'm doing well. Good. So you gave a lot of detailed information that has a lot of details in it. I'm going to ask one question about the notifications. When we get notifications on exchanging, what form will they come? Have you been told of that?
Well, there won't be, unless you're part of, presumably, unless you're part of a group, and if you've listened to my calls, you know that I'm very suspicious of the groups. I do not believe there's going to be contract rates or any of that. But once the IMF officially takes the Iraqi dinar out of the program rate, that's all you need to know. Once that announcement's made, any bank that does international currencies should be in a position to do exchanges. Now, the only exception to that might be that there probably are maybe Tier 2 or Tier 3 banks that do exchanges, but they may not be able to participate in this because of the sophisticated software that's going to be needed, because what's happening is we're exchanging basically Basel III compliant commodity-backed currencies with potentially a U.S. dollar that is still fiat currency. So that's going to be a little bit complicated. We're going to basically see how that's going to play out. Now, I can tell you what we're doing on our end. Once the reinstatement of the dinar happens, we already intend on contacting a number of banks that we believe are going to be involved in order to negotiate a little bit better deal for our clients. So, for example, we go to Wells Fargo, and believe me, it sticks in my craw to say that. I do not like Wells Fargo. But we go to them, for example, and say, okay, we are Trusts Unlimited. We have X number of clients. our average clients has X amount of dinar, so they can extrapolate from that and see that we got some serious money here. We want to know what kind of a deal in terms of the cost of the exchange and a little bit of a premium on the rate you can do for our clients. If they come back and say, okay, I'm just giving you a hypothetical, we usually charge 2%, we're only going to charge your people 1%, and we'll give you a 10% premium over the street rate or something of that nature, then all you need to do is go to that bank with your trust, and then you qualify for that. But that's an example of something we would do. Myself personally, if it happens, I always liken it to buying a car. I'll go to 3 car dealers and try to cut myself the best deal. So if there are hypothetically 6 banks out there, I'm going to talk to all 6 of them. I'm not going to run to the bank the next day. I'm going to talk to all 6 of them and just say, look, I'm not going to nickel and dime you and call you. I just want what's your best deal? Just tell me right now. And I'm just going to the guy. And, I may end up going to 2 banks. I may have 2 banks give me a similar deal, and I'll go to 2 banks.
Okay, so good. That's good information. I mean, I don't like Wells Fargo, but it was only an example. But some people still like Wells Fargo.
Well, we had a bad experience with Wells Fargo because against our instructions, a lot of our clients went to Wells Fargo and set up a pre-RV trust bank account. And they got sucked into that deal where it was an inactive account. I don't know why they set it up, but they got canceled every 2 months for inactivity, and that was part of that large fine that Wells Fargo had to pay manipulating new accounts. So, we don't want our clients to set anything up prior to the revaluation. We want you to walk into the bank with a clean, unfunded trust so that there's no complications.
Okay. Let's see. One other question was dealing with the currency. Gigi told me her banker told her when she was buying some currency that October 7th, it's on a Monday, that they're going to be digital. Now, what would that mean to us if a bank would say we're going to be digital on October 7th?
What that would mean is that we go in there with our currency. They would conduct the transaction digitally. They would inform the CBI of the transaction. They would destroy the currency.
Okay, so them shifting tellers from one bank to a main bank and having all ATMs at the other places instead of the main banks, would that be a move that would be a telltale for us to know that we should have exchanged on or by that date prior to them doing it?
No. That just has to do with their change from analog to digital, from hard currency to digital. That has no effect on what we're doing. It should have no effect on the exchange rate. It should have no effect on the liquidity of your money or any of that. You're still in the same negotiating position. You're going to go in there. You're going to try to get a good rate. I always liken it to a car. You go to a car dealer. He's going to give you, a cost of the car, and you try to whittle him down in price. Well, you're going to go in here. They're going to give you the exchange rate. You're going to try to whittle them up in price. Right. You're going to negotiate the exchange, and you want to make sure when they give you that deposit slip, it doesn't have something like 21-day or 10-day hold on it. You want a standard deposit where you can come in and get your money. Now, what they might do is they might say, for example, I'm just going to make up numbers. We're going to give you $3 for your dinar, and the money's clean, good to go, or we'll give you $3.10 on your dinar, but you got to hold the money for 21 days. Well, then you do your math and say, well, that's an extra $200,000 to me, so they can keep my money for 10 days for an extra $200,000. That's $20, $20,000 a day. So, there's going to be some negotiation that needs to be done. People are just going to have to be on their toes because obviously you can't take, some negotiator with you to try to negotiate this. You're going to have to, deal with the bank, but their first offer is usually not their last offer. So, we're going to try to assist people after the revaluation. After the reinstitution, we're going to be talking to some banks and trying to get a handle on what they're doing. They're giving us very little information now, and some of them are saying, oh, it's not going to happen, it's a scam, it's this or that. And we know that's not the case. But after the reinstitution, they're going to have, if they want to, we'll just basically say, if you want our business, you got to tell me what the deal is. We'll just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
We're the ones with the rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. If we have the money, then we should be in a position to negotiate a better deal than the first blush.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned the IMF taking Iraq off of their current rate and moving them up in stature to a reinstatement or an RV. So if that were to happen, not if that were to happen. So the person, from what you said, I understand it to be that the IMF has control over when Iraq is actually going to reinstate.
No, the IMF can let them know that if they reinstate, they are or they are not prepared to take them out of the program rate. When they reinstitute, technically, that only affects the use of the currency in country. Now, ordinarily what happens is a currency reinstitutes, and in a relatively short period of time, the IMF will take them out of a program rate. There are some people that are saying that they're going to go on a float, then it'll reinstitute on a float, it'll slowly rise, and then the IMF will take them out of the program rate. There are some people that are saying, no, it's going to be done in coordination. They're going to reinstitute, and it's immediately going to come out of the program rate, which means it would probably hit somewhere between $3 and $4 day one. We just don't know what they're going to do. We just know what their basic options are.
Okay. Last question.
Yes, sir.
The individual who hung himself in jail, forget his name right now, who did this will 2 days prior to him taking his own life.
Yes.
How does that compare to having the trust that we are getting from you?
Okay. My understanding is, and I'll never understand why he did this, he created something called a revocable trust. All a revocable trust does is it exempts his estate from probate, and it reduces the federal estate tax. But with an estate as large as his, the savings on the federal estate tax is going to be minimal. In addition, because he wasn't married, he wasn't eligible for double exemptions. I don't know any more than that, only that estate is now going to be thrown into civil litigation because there will be individuals that want to pursue recovery for, obviously, bad deeds. So I expect that 10 years from now, that estate will still be in litigation.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate your call. Thanks for taking mine. Say hi to the doctor or the professor,
sir.
And I'll chat with you later.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
All right.
Well, Les likes to call in, and he usually has lots of good questions, so I'm glad that he does. He is our only caller this afternoon. Again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to the call. Those of you that are listening for the first time, I hope you'll contact us to get our initial package. Once again, you're under absolutely no obligation by doing so. Everything you need to proceed will be included in the package. You can contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. There will be no consultation fee. Our next call is scheduled for next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we will be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Have a great week, everyone, and thanks for listening. Bye-bye.